Well, thanks for staying with us. We've been enthralled by the testimony being given to the Committee of Parliament that is probing the leaked tape alleging a plot to oust the IGP. We've been hearing testimony from one of the key personalities who confirms that his voice is indeed the voice on the tape. Now, this is The Pulse. I'm so glad you've made time to stay with us. We've got to analyze what we've all just seen and heard. So security analyst Adam Bonaa joins us. And it's a pleasure to have you this afternoon, Mr. Bonaa.
Yes, thank you for having me, Kojo.
Now, fascinating insights here. You've seen the posture of a witness who stands by his convictions, is very sure of himself, unwavering in his position, very clear on the questions he's willing to answer and the ones he will not answer. But bearing in mind all of this and putting it alongside what you heard on the tape, does this matter still retain the security implications that everybody was worried about at the beginning of this process?
Oh, yes, it does, it does, because then I'm sure he himself confirmed literally that he's a member of the MPP, by extension, the UP tradition. He was asked whether he's a card-bearing member. You know, the chairman of the committee said, I'm sure he was going to say yes, because I know, I've seen some images where he was going to stand for, to be a parliamentary candidate of a sort. And so I'm sure his answer, if he said no, would have had implications, when it comes to the party he belongs to. And if he said yes, would have also implications when it comes to sanctioning, because he's sworn an oath not to lie. And if he did, it would be seen to be perjury. And he's on terminal leave. He's not coming back again. And so if he was to say yes or no, the consequences, if it was a yes, the consequences would have been, if he has to be sanctioned, he might, even though he might not get his retirement and all those, he might be dismissed from the service. There are consequences because as a professional police officer, the law mandates you not to affiliate openly and publicly to any political party. You can be a sympathizer. So you can see Honorable Atachia actually assisting him to answer that question. And so I think so far so good, but he was literally very evasive, if you ask me. He was literally very evasive. He couldn't stand by he couldn't stand by the things that were uttered on the tape initially. But as they started asking him questions, he, started opening up and, giving giving answers such as, yes, I can confirm, or he will say, I will not want to answer. Or he will say, these are private matters, even though the Honorable, Aga mentioned to him that because this tape has become a matter of public concern, a matter of national security and public concern, the veil has been taken. So it's no longer a private matter. He still remained adamant and said it is a private conversation that was taped, and therefore he's not going to answer to whether he spoke to the MPP General Secretary and some of the things he did. And according to him, he did them behind closed doors. They went further to ask him, did you the things you said privately, can you publicly say them? Are they the truth? If they are the truth, privately, then they should always constantly remain the truth, even if it's in public. It was very evasive when it comes to that. And so as far as I'm concerned, I think he, looking at his demeanor, I was expecting him to, say it as it is. The way you listen to the tape, how bold he was when he was saying the things. I think in this particular setting, I think he could have been much bolder. He should have just said, yes, I did this, I said that, I said that, I said that. And so, and they asked him, he was ADC to, the former vice president under Rawlings. And you know how he answered that question. And so quite unfortunate to have senior officers, who belong to political parties and decided to do what they've done, could you?
Now, he said quite blatantly that the earlier witness, Bugri Nabu, told the committee lots of lies. That's a direct quote. Listening to him, does it cast any doubt in your mind over any part of Bugri Nabu's testimony?
Not at all. Not at all.
So you believe that Bugri Nabu recorded this conversation solely for the benefit of whistleblowing to the president?
For that, I don't know. For that, it will be difficult for me to know because, according to Bugri Nabu, he recorded it to aid him to have a conversation with the president with regards to what these people are saying. But unfortunately for these people who ganged up, the tape seemed to have leaked before, according to Bugri Nabu, he sent the tape to the president. But his introductory commentary, he said that this is not the full version of the tape. So I was expecting, even though they asked him subsequently, but I was expecting them to push him. If he says it is not the full version, does he have a copy of the full version? Because then he seemed to be saying that he knows more than we are hearing. What he uttered is more than we are hearing. Because he didn't say that what you have, there is anything there that, but he only said that this is an edited version. And the committee and the chairman said that, well, as far as we are concerned, this is all we have. But he said it is edited. Edited means that could he be the one who recorded it? Because the moment you say this is an edited version, but you seem to suggest that some of the things that were said in the tape, you don't remember them. Then what lies in where are we going to, how truthful would you be? And which one would constitute the full version of the tape? So you can see he was evasive in one breath and not very candid and trying to belittle the recording and trying to belittle Bugri Nabu. And as far as I'm concerned, if you listen to Bugri Nabu, he said he doesn't have anything to hide. There's a reason why he recorded it, and it was not to leak it, but because the president would ask him for evidence. And for us, we know that the president, even when it comes to corruption-related matters, he will tell you, bring me evidence. You have no evidence, don't come to me. And so that seems to suggest that Bugri Nabu is more truthful. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that so far so good, but I think Honorable Atachan should have allowed the conversation to flow. One way or the other, he was... we want to know what happened because elections has security implications in this country.
That is a valid point, a very valid point. I apologize for having to cut in, but I'm receiving information that a live event has begun and we need to cross over for that. Mr. Adam Bonaa, thank you very much for your time with us this afternoon. But as we speak, NDC is addressing a public forum called Arise Ghana. Dr. Cassiel Ato-Forson, who leads the minority in Parliament, is the one speaking right now. Let's go across and hear what he has to say.
An additional 8 from the hyperinflation they inflicted on us alone, and how that wiped away the liquidity of the poor Ghanaian and their ability to even afford 3 square meals a day. It's indeed very sad, and these people must not get away with this. And that is why we entreat you that on the 5th of September, come join us. Let's support the minority in Parliament to protest against this gross and reckless mismanagement of our central bank. On that note, I want to acknowledge the media houses again who are taking this coverage live: Wezo TV, TV3, TVSYZ, Pan African TV, GH1, Metro TV, UTV, Power FM, Accra FM, and all the other social media channels that are taking this broadcast live. We want to thank you once again for your constant support for our programs. On that note, we are about to listen to a wrap-up. The economists have spoken. The lawyers have spoken. Now we are going to hear from the voices of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr.
Well, dear friends, after the very elaborate presentation by the minority leader, there isn't a lot that anybody can say. So I'm going to say just a few things. And the first thing I like to say is that I have no capacity for stopping coup d'etats. And I don't do things for which I have no capacity. I'm not going to stage a coup d'etat, but I cannot stop one. And that's the point I want to make very clearly. Those who want to spend their energies stopping coup d'etats at a time of grave national crisis like the one we live in have a huge responsibility. And I don't pity them, and I don't want to be with them. Friends, so much has been said about the conditions in which all of us as Ghanaians find ourselves today. And the conditions are dire. If we fail to do something now, today, this time, all of us are going down. So we need to see this as a crisis, as an emergency. And it is not just about the Bank of Ghana. What is happening at the Bank of Ghana is a symptom of the real problem. So as we focus attention on the Bank of Ghana, it's important that we focus attention on everything that is happening in Ghana. The statistics have been thrown at us. We know that today we need 128% of total national revenue to repay debt, to pay interest on debt, and to pay public sector workers. What else paints the picture of the situation in which we find ourselves today? We are dead broke. When we repay debts, when we service debts and pay public sector workers, we cannot buy a bottle of water. That is the state of the Ghanaian economy. But you know, friends, all of us have been here. All of us have heard the different arguments and so on. The Electoral Commission messes up. If you complain, they come and say, we are independent. Bank of Ghana messes up. When you complain, their refrain is that we are independent. All of these constitutional bodies, when they mess up, their excuse is that they are independent. Independent.
Apologize for losing the signal there. The NDC minority in Parliament addressing an Arise Ghana gathering. The last person you heard speaking there was Kwesi Pratt, renowned Ghanaian journalist, who was summarizing his thoughts on the matter of the Bank of Ghana's governor's performance. Now we can go live to Parliament, where the chairman of the committee looking into the alleged plot to oust the IGP, Mr. Samuel Atta Achia, is standing by now to speak to the press. Let's hear what he has to say.
Certainly. You see, it is not every testimony which is for public consumption. Some testimonies and pieces of evidence might have national security implications, and therefore in-camera hearing is one of the ways to, address a problem. So when we come to terms with that, why not? We invite him. to give us in-camera testimony.
Is your determination conclusive in relation to the objections that were raised initially? They've indicated that they will turn in audio recordings to the effect to counteract what, these members of the committee say in relation to the objections about natural justice rules being breached, and that these are people who've made prejudicial comments, and because of that, they cannot continue to preside over these matters.
We will not stop them from tendering evidence which should aid what we are doing. Guess what? Even the members of the committee are not enemies of the witnesses at all, or the people involved. And therefore, if you start doing what they call evidence gagging, then you are biased ab initio. That is why I said anything of consequence that they will need to aid what they are doing, they should give it to them freely. And they are about to do that. In the same token, if there's anything which is exculpatory of them and they have, the committee should look at it. And if there's plain bias about certain things, I've said one thing which is very important. I would not be the person trying to get biased members of the committee to mess them up. So I don't have the lenses of bias. But if they believe that the committee is not properly constituted, then it's above me. Because I'm not the one who constitutes the committee, the speaker. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My joy. So please, tomorrow we are coming now.
All right.
And that was Samuel Atacha. He's the chairman of the committee probing the alleged plot to oust the IGP. Today, they heard the testimony of Alex Mensah, who is a COP. His voice was on the tape, and he confirmed it was indeed his voice. These hearings will continue. This has been adjourned for the day, but they will continue with proceedings tomorrow. This is The Pulse. I want you to stay exactly where you are. We'll be back after these. You're welcome back. Now we can take you back to that NDC public address, Arise Ghana, and we can resume with Kwesi Pratt, who was wrapping things up for the assembled group.
And that is, we need the toughest of our men and women to wage this struggle. And the toughest of our men and women are who? The kebab seller, the trotro driver and mate, the Uber driver. You understand? The Nika operator, the chop bar operator. Those are the people who will bring the real change to Ghana. And those are the people who need to be in the forefront of our struggles for liberation from poverty and all. You know, my friends, all kinds of prescriptions have been put forward for national economic revival, for the solution of the problems that confront us, and so on. I want to repeat that those solutions have been proven to be useless and incapable of solving the problems that confront us. Why? What are the solutions? Devalue the cedi. We have devalued. As a matter of fact, between 1983 and now, the Ghanaian cedi has been devalued by more than 28,000%. It hasn't taken us anywhere. They say the state should not be interested in enterprises. More than 400 state enterprises have been sold. How many of them survive today? They are all dead. They said we should remove subsidies on social services. We have done it. We are still here. So those solutions don't work. The solutions put forward by the IMF and the World Bank only deepen our poverty and make us worse. So in this battle, we are not just fighting the current administration. We are fighting all those who aid them, who direct them, who supervise them. And that includes the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. They are our enemies. They are our enemies. We cannot embrace them under any circumstance. Why? They serve definite interests. And in this struggle, it is our duty to reject bourgeois arrogance, bourgeoisie arrogance, bourgeois arrogance, The arrogance of the elite, those who think that what matters are the letters they write after their names, even some of them before their names. Bourgeoisie arrogance, those who see no good in the carpenter, those who believe that they are ordained to be masters forever. Their kingdom is coming to an end. And the earlier they realize that, the better it will be for them. Here we are. And I have no doubt that many of you here, the majority of you here, if not all of you, are clamoring for change. In the next few months, you want to see change. Ally? Yes. You want to see change? Yes. Does it matter whether you are Ashanti or from the Volta region or from the Central? Does it matter? So when you hear your leaders going around mobilizing some of you to come and say that John Mahama must necessarily choose somebody from the Volta region as his running mate, are you happy? When you hear your leader say that me, I'm the one who can mobilize Ashanti, so choose me as running mate, are you happy? Are you happy with this stupidity? Are you happy with this reasoning which is holding us back? Are you happy when the Bank of Ghana is indebted? Bank of Ghana has lost 60 billion and some of your leaders are behaving like this. Are you happy? Are you happy that we are in this mess and we are being divided along regional and tribal lines and so on? Let us all unite and do the do in order to take us forward. This demonstration which is being organized, no doubt, the police will go to court. This is not the first time they are going to court. They've always gone to court. Felix is laughing, he knows. They've always gone to court on any excuse. Sometimes it's about the roots and so on. So what do you do? What you do is to apply your gumption. Apply your gumption. What do you want to do? You want to show that our people in their masses are fed up. They know that things are not going well. Do you want to do something beyond that? You want to send a signal that the people are not fools, they know the truth and so on. Does it matter whether the police go to court or not? Do the do, man. Do the do. What is this? Look, every Ghanaian has a right to free expression. And no force on earth can stop that free expression. No force. It has never happened before, and it's not about to happen now. Free expression will be defended with our everything, including our lives. Some of us did not spend all these years in prison to come out later in a so-called Fourth Republic to be told that you cannot demonstrate. Anybody thinking that they can stop demonstrations in this country must be living in cuckoo's land, because nobody ever will be able to stop demonstrations in this country. Dear friends, I have an engagement somewhere. I think I've already spoken too much, and I apologize for that profusely, but I wish you well. And I know that ultimately, all of us will realize the dreams of those who led the independence struggle in Ghana. And what are the dreams? That we should own our own resources. Our resources should belong to us. Our gold, our diamond, our bauxite should belong to the people of Ghana. That's not asking too much. That these resources should be exploited for the benefit of our people. That's not asking too much. That in the final analysis, we are the only people who can choose our leaders, not an electoral commission. at the Electoral Commission, we will choose our own leaders. And I am sure, absolutely sure and happy that what we have started in Parliament under the leadership of the minority and what is continuing in this room today will be successful no matter the machinations of anybody. Thank you all very much.
Arise, Ghana youth, for your country. Your nation demand your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold and make her great and strong. We are all involved. We are all involved.
And that's how things are being wrapped up at the Arise Ghana address, a public forum organized by the NDC. The last person to address it there was Kwesi Pratt, asking the gathered comrades to do the do, whatever that do may be. Now, this, of course, is all coming in reaction to a statement released by the police regarding the permission sought, or well, not the permission, but the notification provided by the minority in Parliament to stage a protest and a march to the Bank of Ghana to compel its governor to resign. Now, we can go very quickly through the statement the police issued, and it says, under the heading, Police Update on Planned Demonstration by the Minority in Parliament, dated the 30th of August, which was yesterday. It says, 1. Following a security assessment conducted by the police regarding the selected routes for the planned demonstration by the minority in Parliament, it is observed that public order, public safety, and the provision of essential services may be endangered if the proposed routes are followed. The organizing parties were therefore requested to reconsider the proposed routes and destination of the protest. Regrettably, a mutual agreement on the selected routes could not be reached between the police and the organizing parties. As a result, the police, with the best interest of public safety in mind, have been left with no alternative but to seek legal recourse by approaching the court to determine the matter. Accordingly, today, 30th of August 2023, the police filed an application at the court. We would like to assure the public that the police remain committed to providing the necessary security for individuals and groups as they exercise their constitutional right to protest. Now, this is signed by Juliana Obeng, who's Superintendent of Police and head of the Public Affairs Unit for the Greater Accra region. So that's where we are regarding the planned demonstration by the minority as far as the police are concerned. Now let's stay with the police. The police have arrested 2 suspected illegal miners alleged to be part of a larger group of Galamsey operators at Pachi number 2 in the Asante region. Now the police, with the support of the local traditional council, raided the illegal mining enclave to swoop in on the miners. Now, there is more in this report.
Excavators on 6 acres of land digging for the mineral ore. Upon sighting the police, the illegal miners took to their heels, but 2 were arrested. The Pechi number 2 Traditional Council called in the support of the police to rid the area of illegal miners. Richard Nyantechi is secretary to the council. Illegal miners in the community were arrested yesterday. The chief prompted the police upon noticing the illegal miners. The police swiftly acted on it. When we got into their site, the police quickly got in and arrested them. We came across 3 excavators when we got there. They started working not long ago, but they have destroyed about 6 acres of land.
Samri o wabrochi but asase no so yempo e wa hampo ya ante wono mpo ne teye e na oboy amane that means say ne mpesu ya no so no wo monitor ho yie pa e wo internet no so bibia beto fo mo ho bia no wote boy amane but e kan say sanfo ne mo bia e na de asi ne no wiase nyina be hu na nya ade nso say ne nkwa ne yedi sa adwuma no sesi ya ko hunu sa ne de abre bia no ye bobo ho mpembe because ho na hard out enye ize say wo be ko wo hwe ye ho nananom ho ene ye nase a enye ize say ho no betimi akọ ubebima pakeka ube nanti be 6-7 kilometers ansana watimi aduru ba bia omo ye adwuma no.
The Traditional Council has instituted surveillance over its land to ward off illegal miners. The Nifahini of Pichin number 2, Nana Kweku Amwa for the second, applauded the police for the swift response. He called for the support of the community members in volunteering information to rid off illegal mining enclaves.
The police force omaya ade omo de kan to sani bia na nenso anamo matuo ne de beto mo no so anso ampete amoma boya me yatimi akwa akwakire nkofo na sesei no omo makachi sesi a ye hwe say.
The police responded to call quickly to rid off illegal miners. The fight against Galamsey is difficult. We can't fight it alone. We all have to get involved. Our lands are getting destroyed. Our farms are being destroyed by these illegal miners. We won't survive if they continue to mine.
Galamsey for ababeshishemu a no kwasem no mo say yensa ma akuafo no ene yensu ho nyina no wo mo ese nyina nti say omo koso di dwumadie dia ese pachi ye daache no hrenhren betimi akuta yen ekom ena ebetimi e dey ato o man.
Reporting for Joy News, Nana Boache Dankwa Yadom, Kumasi.
Let's stay in Kumasi, where the Asante Hene Otumfuo Osei Tutu II has in recent times destooled at least 5 chiefs for various offenses, including multiple sale of lands, breach of traditional rules, and engagement in illegal mining activities. According to cultural historian at the Mensah Palace, Osei Safo Kantanka, the unpleasant actions of sub-chiefs are sufficient enough for their destoolment. Now, he anticipates more of such destoolments, especially in relation to chiefs involved in illegal mining activities. Nana Boache Adam once again has the rest of that story.
Now, I'm not happy with chiefs in Amansia area where Galamsey has taken over the land, and I say to them that if you sit there and you claim that you don't know what is happening, then you are not fit to be a chief over there. So these are matters that we are going to take it up again. And I don't care whose goals it is, because we have to enforce it. And I have to start with my chiefs first, and then government has to deal with the other ones. We all have to take matters seriously to be able to bring this to a closure, because I cannot accept that. I'm going to take a drive around those areas, in the Amansia to Mansum Kwanta area and all those things, to see. I've gotten reports about what is happening, and I'm going to do that. And if I finish with that, all the chiefs around that area may have to answer to as to why that has happened.
In this year alone, the Asante Hene has destooled 5 chiefs, though not all are related to illegal mining. The punitive measure is to signal to chiefs not to go against their oath to the Asante Hene or engage in practices deemed inimical to the development of their communities. Cultural historian at the Mensah Palace, teacher Safo Kantanka, says the Asante Hene has in recent times established laws prohibiting chiefs from engaging in illegal mining activities and the sale of lands to multiple people.
The destoolment is not as if Asante Hene gets up and then comes, gather people and then say, this chief must be destooled, that chief must be destooled. Not long ago, a law was made that chiefs should keep themselves away from Galamsey. And some chiefs have recently been destooled for getting involved in Galamsey.
Safo Kantanka says the Asante Hene will not shell chiefs engaged in any act that goes contrary to the established rules and regulations of the Mensah Palace.
When there is an instance when chiefs are trying to turn their backs against their own states or doing things which will not augur well for forward movement of their states, then it requires their destoolment. And these things happen some of the time when there is peace and nothing bad is happening, to divide or to destroy the chieftaincy system, we don't hear these things. So if it's found out that in the process you kept lying, nothing can save you. You'll be destroyed.
In the coming days, the Asante team is expected to have a public hearing on chiefs involved in some detrimental practices.
It is not a 9-day wonder. It will continue because it has become part of the culture. The law has become part of the culture, and culture does not die that easily.
Reporting for Joe News, Nana Boachi Dankwayadom, Kumasi.
Now, as part of efforts to promote a sense of unity and collaboration among stakeholders and help address pressing challenges posed by climate change, the Director of Climate Change at the Ghana Forestry Commission, Rosalind Fusua-Ajay, revealed that Ghana should maximize enough finance in tackling issues concerning climate change. Now, there's more in this report.
With a global initiative to promote a green Ghana and combat climate change, the 11th edition of the Ghana Garden and Flower Show has been launched. The Director of Climate Change at the Ghana Forestry Commission, Rosalind Fusua-Ajay, revealed that as Ghana is about to attend the Parties on Climate Change event, it is essential to maximize enough finance to tackle issues concerning climate change.
So as Ghana prepares to be a part of the UNFCCC COP28 in Dubai, and as we've been all over the years, the focus is that we're able to capitalize a lot on the themes. So we should look at the different themes on nature, agriculture, food systems, food sustainability, and come up with the different engagement principles that can really get us the best. These conferences have happened over 28 years, and so many things happen there. If you are not strategic enough, we can just go and come back as we went. But Ghana, as you heard from the World Food Programme head as well in Ghana, we have already the policies, we have the structures in place. We are now on to implementation. So as we go to COP28 in Dubai, what we really are looking forward to is how we can maximize enough finance to come and implement our NDC strategies. That's the nationally determined contributions. How can we implement all those different mitigation measures in there, the adaptation measures as well? That is our focus for going to Dubai.
Manager of Marketing and Communication at Strascom Africa, Sharon Inim, stated that over the years, the event has inspired visitors to plant and cultivate personal gardens, which in return contribute to sustainability and economic growth.
We had about 28,000 visitors. These visitors have been inspired by the Ghana Garden and Flower Show to plant and cultivate personal gardens. As they plant, they are contributing to environmental sustainability. Some are growing their floriculture-related businesses, generating employment and contributing to national economic growth. As we plant and work in our gardens, we improve our health, and of course, flowers help to make our country more beautiful.
Exhibitors' presence at the event also shed light on how essential it is to ensure everyone contributes their quota to the global agenda towards climate change.
To soil, so it's from waste to wealth, right? Yeah, and this is also job creation. Look at this, we grow from imports, basically making farming very interesting so that you don't really need to have a big land to grow. And anybody can do any of this from your broken pots.
We do everything right here in Ghana.
Yeah.
Because that's what we are trying to promote here.
Yes.
The event under the theme, Green Fusion, Collaborating for Climate Action, is not just a concept, but rather a call to action and a collective responsibility to combat climate change. For Joy News, Jacqueline and Soma Ieboa.
Now, an Accra High Court has ordered the Special Prosecutor Kisia Jabing to unfreeze the account of former Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa and return her property to her within 7 days. According to the court, the OSP's act to seize the property in the matrimonial home of Cecilia Dapa and freeze her accounts lacks legal basis. Let's talk to Richard Kojunyako, who was in court and joins us now in the studio with details. Let's talk about this. First of all, what exactly was the special prosecutor's argument here? What was he seeking?
Well, so according to the special prosecutor, they conducted a search in the home of Madam Cecilia Dapaah and discovered $590,000 and also went to the bank. So today they mentioned the two banks, Societe Generale and then Prudential Bank, and they found undisclosed amounts of money. And so because they were carrying out investigation, they needed to also freeze the account. Now, per the OSP's Act, when they conduct or they seize the property of someone and freeze someone's account, they need to go to the High Court for the High Court to confirm the freezing and then the seizure of the property. And so they suspect that the monies and the funds they found in Madam Cecilia Dapaah's matrimonial home and then the bank account were suspected to be tainted property, and for which reason they wanted the court to confirm that. And so that is basically the case of the OSP.
Right. And Cecilia Dapaah's lawyers clearly countered this. What was their position?
So their position was that the OSP has breached its own law. According to the law, when the OSP seizes the property or freezes someone's account, they have within a maximum of 7 days within which to go to the court to confirm. But they went to the court on the 14th day, which is clearly a breach of their own law. And they also contest vehemently that the property acquired by Madam Cecilia Dapaah, these were properties that were acquired before the woman even came into public office. And so they do not think that the property that is in the possession of the woman is a tainted property. And so for which reason they told the court that should the courts give a blessing to what the OSP is saying, then it will amount to condoning lawlessness and illegality. And so that is really the case of Madam Cecilia Dapaah.
So where did the court settle on this?
Well, so the court set down 4 issues for determination today. One was the issue of capacity. So when they filed the application processes, it emerged that it wasn't the OSP that actually signed. And so it was someone in the office that also was authorized to do so. But the court said that the argument or the objection by Madam Cecilia Dapaah's lawyer was far-fetched, and so it threw up that argument. The second one was why the condition precedent for the seizure of the property in Madam Cecilia Dapaah's home, and the court found that they didn't meet the threshold. Also, the court took time to take the proceedings through why they didn't really meet the conditions precedent. And the third one was the bank account as well, that they found it absurd that the OSP would go ahead and then freeze the account when investigations had not even been concluded on that matter. And so by so doing, the OSP, the courts actually decided to give or ordered the OSP to within 7 days returned the seized property to Madam Cecilia Dapaah and unfreeze the account.
Right. Have there been reactions from either side?
Well, so it was a virtual court hearing, and so, but we saw Madam Cecilia Dapaah, her lawyers, as well as the special prosecutor and their lawyers and all of that. But you could not see clearly whether someone is frowning or smiling. And so that was really what we saw when we joined the meeting virtually.
Right, okay. Any options available to the special prosecutor or indeed Cecilia Dapaah at this point? What's the next move of either party?
So the next move, I suspect, will be that because the legs of the case of the OSP has been broken, they can actually go back and do the right thing stipulated in law that the law allowed them to do. So if they're able to meet the condition precedent to seize the property, I think the law will allow them that space to do that. And so the court actually said that per Section 40 and Section 32(2) of the OSP's own act, it can meet these conditions and be able to come back.
Thanks, as always, for that insightful update. Richard Kojunyakon was in court for us today following the Cecilia Dapaah case brought by the Office of the Special Prosecutor, seeking confirmation for their seizure and freezing of her accounts and assets. Now, in Ghana, a little over 14 million people are multidimensionally poor with limited access to education, healthcare, and other key social amenities. Speaking at the 25th anniversary lecture of the Send West Africa, lead researcher for the lecture, Dr. Esther Abwaji, called for the institution of policy frameworks and careful planning of civil society organizations to address the disadvantages of poverty in this country. Now, there's a little bit more. Let's watch this report.
It is estimated that over 9% of the world's population fall below the poverty line, which translates into It is estimated that over 9% of the world's population fall below the poverty line, would translate into over 730 million individuals across the globe. In Ghana, a little over 14 million people are multi-dimensionally poor with limited access to education, healthcare, and other key social amenities. Speaking at the Sen Ghana West Africa 25th Anniversary Public Lecture, researcher and former executive director of the Institute of Local Government Studies, Dr. Esther Ofei-Aboagye, has called for an increase in advocacy for marginalized individuals. These individuals, she believes, are highly disadvantaged and may fall below the global poverty line. She called for the establishment of agencies to oversee and ensure accountability within civil society organizations as a crucial step in addressing this issue.
Even though concepts of poverty have been largely around income poverty or monetary resources and access to basic needs and those related issues, the efforts to adopt a multidimensional approach provides us with a more complete picture of poverty for households, communities, and countries. For instance, until the late 2022, the global poverty line was $1.90. And then in the last quarter of 2022, the World Bank updated the poverty line from $1.90 to $2.15. In Ghana, it was estimated that if we are using the $1.90, then about 2.9 million Ghanaians should be considered to be living in that poverty, and the majority are in the rural areas, about 2.8 million of them. If we take a multidimensional measure to assess this using a capabilities approach, then we have to also think about the fact that I think a recent assessment by the Statistical Service indicates that about 45.6% of our population could be considered multidimensionally poor, using such issues as the lack of health insurance coverage, nutrition, school lag. Over the years, even though there have been considerable pro-poor investments which have resulted in reductions in multidimensional poverty over time, there are still some big issues to be dealt with. For instance, we still have a lot of work to do around the northern part of this country.
In her bid to reshape both the corporate and civil society arenas, Dr. Esther Ofei-Aboagye underscored the critical need for a thorough re-evaluation of the nation's corporate law statutes. She pointed out that even though not always highlighted within the political sphere, the efficacy and vitality of a political party are intricately linked to the active participation of women.
Strategic communication has been important to send through all means to all concerned as essential. They also have learned and have taught us that you build relationships and partnerships, but it requires time and careful nurturing. It doesn't work with speed or sprout overnight.
All right, now time for us to cross over and have a conversation with our partners at DW. Germany has accelerated its plans to withdraw its troops from Mali, aiming for the end of this year. Now, German media are reporting that the exit might not be so clean-cut. Locals who have helped German forces say they fear retribution. Let's get more on this from William Glucroft, who's a reporter with our partner at Deutsche Welle in Berlin. So, William, tell us, what do we know about this letter from Germany's local support staff?
Well, this is a letter that apparently was sent to the Bundestag, the German parliament, and other elements of the German government back in July, but it's coming to light now, first reported by the German magazine Spiegel, and it's signed by a handful of translators and interpreters on the ground, locals in Mali, saying they fear for their lives, they fear retribution once German forces leave at the end of the year as part of the winding down of a UN peacekeeping mission there that has tried and failed to stabilize the country and and protect the democratically elected government there for many years. German forces were there for a decade, or have been there for a decade. And they say once the German forces leave, what happens to them? What's the plan? How will their security and safety and well-being for them and their families be assured? And that is something that they are very worried about, and German officials are looking into.
No doubt. Now, how have the German authorities responded?
Well, decidedly mixed. Of course, the military has come out and said they are aware of their responsibilities to local support staff that have been supporting both the military and humanitarian aid groups, both German and otherwise, international forces there, that they will do their responsibility to make sure that they are taken care of. But, and there's been individual parliamentary members, other policymakers who have said that it is the ethical and moral duty to make sure that these people are looked after. But there's really nothing specific in place. The German government is playing it down a bit by saying this letter only represents a small handful of the total number of local support staff that have been there supporting German forces and German operations in Mali. And so there's a number of options on the table, from making sure that they're well seen after in terms of financially taken care of, everything up to getting them out of Mali and bringing them to Germany. But we are a long way from that actually happening.
William, what is it about the situation in Mali that makes it so precarious, both for locals there and for German policymakers?
Well, for locals, of course, is much more clear. The danger is much more clear and present. This is basically a failed mission, not only for Germany, but the United Nations, the international community overall. They've been trying to stabilize this country, protect the democratically elected governments over many years. There's now, since several coups, basically these forces have become persona non grata. The country's become much more Russia-friendly, and at the same time, so-called Islamic State, or actors related to the so-called Islamic State, have been destabilizing the country, especially in rural areas, and causing a lot of harm and fear through the population. And that is what German forces, part of this UN mission, are leaving behind. This is going to be their legacy. And that is what is tied over, of course, to problems for German policymakers. This is not a one-to-one comparison to what happened to Afghanistan, but the experience in Afghanistan is a sensitive spot for Germany, having been the largest contributor of troops in Afghanistan after the United States, and being really left to deal with thousands and thousands of local support staff in Afghanistan who needed help and have had their lives at risk. And so the question is, how do they take those lessons learned and those failures in Afghanistan to apply them to Mali so the same thing doesn't happen there? Now, albeit Mali is a much smaller operation, much fewer people here are at risk, but nonetheless, that sore spot is there, and German officials want to show that they've learned their lessons from Afghanistan, that they are going to tread much more differently, much more carefully in a place like Mali, but time will tell if that actually is the case.
William, thank you for dialing us into this situation in Mali. That's William Glucroft from our partners, Deutsche Welle. Listen, this has been great. I'm so glad you spent the afternoon with us here on The Pulse. I can't wait to do it again with you tomorrow. But until then, we don't leave you empty-handed. Go to myjoyonline.com for all the latest headlines and stay exactly where you are. After these messages comes LTS. Have a wonderful afternoon.